Old Emma sat cross-legged on the living room floor, her textbook spread out around her like a fortress of knowledge. The afternoon sun streamed through the window, enveloping her in warmth, but the comfort of home felt deceptive in its calmness. Ben was supposed to be with his friend Jake, and the boys' laughter filled any quiet space with the promise of mischief and camaraderie. Instead, an unsettling stillness settled in the house, a tangible harbinger of what was to come. Her phone buzzed violently on the coffee table, tearing her gaze from the pages filled with potential futures. The chill that traced her spine was mirrored in the air as she glanced at the caller ID. Unknown. With a hesitant swipe, she answered.
Hello?
She spoke, her voice steady, masking the knots of anxiety tightening in her stomach.
Emma.
The voice on the other end was smooth, almost soothing, but it carried an undercurrent of menace.
I have your brother. If you want him to live, you'll do exactly as I say.
The words hung in the air like a noose tightening around her breath. A prank? It had to be a prank. Her mind raced to dismiss the absurdity of it. But then the caller recited details about Ben, his favorite baseball cap, the scraped knee from last weekend's skateboard mishap. Things only someone close could know. Emma's heart thundered in her chest as the reality began to settle.
What do you want?
She managed, trying to keep her voice steady, but the tremor betrayed her courage. He instructed, each word deliberate.
Drive to a location I'll give you and retrieve a package. Do this, and your brother lives.
house.
The words sliced through the darkness like a knife. Emma froze, her blood turning to ice as she spun around to face the voice. Mrs. Williams stood just beyond the archway, her expression a mix of confusion and concern, the light from the kitchen illuminating the impending confrontation. Panic surged through Emma.
I thought I left something here.
She stammered, adrenaline coursing through her veins as her mind raced for a plausible excuse. It was a split second. Everything hinged on Mrs. Williams believing her. A tense silence unfolded as the older woman studied her, and for a moment, Emma thought she saw the flicker of doubt in her eyes. Maybe she could talk her way out of this. Maybe this wouldn't end in a disaster. But in that instant, the burner phone buzzed again, breaking the standstill. The caller demanded, voice low and threatening.
I need you to hurry up. Get the laptop and leave. No one can find out what you're doing.
Time fractured as Mrs. Williams's gaze turned wary, comprehension flickering in her eyes. Emma's heart raced with terror, caught in a dreadful spotlight. The stakes escalated far beyond anything she'd anticipated. The tension hung in the air as Emma struggled to maintain her composure. Mrs. Williams took a tentative step forward, her eyes narrowing with suspicion.
Emma, you can't just barge into someone's home at this hour. What's really
understanding dawning.
You mean the neighbor? But they seemed harmless.
They're anything but. We need to confront them. I'll bait them with a lead on the data. When they show, we'll gather evidence and take them down together.
As the gravity of their plan formed in the dim light of the room, a flicker of hope ignited within her. They were not just fighting for their lives, they were clawing back power stolen from them. Each second that ticked by built the tension, the anticipation of the confrontation, a visceral showdown that would challenge both their wills. And as night cloaked the world outside, Emma prepared for the inevitable clash, her heart racing not from fear, but from the exhilarating pulse of adrenaline. They were two souls entwined in a fight against darkness, equipped with knowledge and an unyielding resolve. The game had changed, and they were ready to reclaim their lives, one careful move at a time. The dawn broke with a hesitance that mirrored Emma's spirit. She stood by the window, eyes tracing the faint light spilling onto the floor of her once comfortable home, now charged with the echoes of a traumatic night. Although her plan had unfolded with relentless precision, the price had been steep. The relief of having exposed the criminal network felt muted by the subsequent roar of anguish that resided within her. Each corner of her heart bore the scars of betrayal, leaving her to grapple with an unsettling emptiness. The police had come, confirming her suspicions, and the arrest of several key players had dominated the news cycle for days. Yet the accolades from the authorities and fleeting whispers of admiration from her neighbors felt hollow against the weight of her reality. Emma barely recognized herself in the mirror. The reflection staring back was not just a survivor, but a woman marked by fear. Shadows lurked behind her eyes, remnants of the terror she had witnessed unraveling in the warehouse. Conversations with family and friends turned stilted, their concern palpable, yet suffocating. They wanted to help, to pull her back from the edge of darkness, but the very fabric of their relationships frayed under the stress of her secrets. Emma found comfort in solitude. However, it was in those quiet moments that her gnawing anxiety began to take root. The palpable silence was a constant reminder that danger had not dissipated. It merely transformed, lurking patiently in the periphery of her life. One evening, as she flipped through a stack of unsent messages on her phone, her heart raced when an unfamiliar name appeared on the screen. A text notification lit up the room, the cold glow piercing the cocoon of her temporary solace. It was a message from a number she didn't recognize, an ominous alert that sent chills cascading down her spine.
You played your part well, Emma, but know this. There are forces at play you cannot comprehend. We're still watching.
Every rational thought evaporated, replaced by a primal instinct to survive. The newfound fear, a dark companion, enveloped her once more, invigorating the dread that had begun to settle. It was clear the threat was far from over. They still had eyes on her. Emma sprang into action, her thoughts racing. This time she would not be caught off guard. Harnessing the adrenaline that coursed through her, she set to fortifying her world. She reached out to trusted allies in the police force and sought out security measures to safeguard her home. With every lock changed and alarm system installed, she felt a fragile sense of control returning to her life. Yet doubt gnawed at her. What if their vigilance was not enough? As the nightmare lingered like a fog, Emma realized her battle was not just with the remnants of a sinister network, but also with the ghost of her former self, trying to assert her strength amid smothering terror. As the days faded into weeks, the reality of her altered existence became painfully clear. Emma had exchanged her innocence for knowledge, transforming her into a fierce but cautious warrior. The fear that once bound her had shifted into a fierce resolve, compelling her to navigate this precarious new chapter of her life. Each day she tightened the grip on her agency, reminding herself of the power that comes with understanding one's demons. Yet no matter how fortified her surroundings became, sleep remained an elusive refuge. The haunting images twisted in her subconscious, a relentless reminder of the night when everything changed. Emma would awaken, drenched in sweat, her breathing erratic as shadows danced mockingly in the corners of her room. The thrill of the hunt had transformed into a battle for peace, and she could feel the weight of her new reality eclipsing the light. As she prepared for yet another long night, the phone rang. its shrill sound slicing through the enveloping silence. Hesitant, she picked it up, dread knotting in her stomach. But this time, it wasn't an anonymous threat or chilling warning. It was Ben, his voice equally strained yet filled with concern.
Emma, we need to plan. We won't let them take control again.
For a moment, hope flickered in her chest, rekindling the embers of their shared resolve. They were survivors, yes, but Emma now knew that battle scars were not just marks of loss, they were badges of resilience. Together, they would fight to reclaim the peace that had been stolen from them, aware that although the ordeal may have ended, the fight for their lives was just beginning.